Last Tuesday, the fall 2024 session of the Student Senate of the Student Government Association of the University of Tulsa officially opened with the swearing in of several new senators. Alongside this event came the presentation of a new constitution, authored over the course of 2 years and spearheaded during this summer's Senate session. The document promises significant changes to the way SGA operates and the way it interacts with students. Tonight I spoke with Internal Affairs Committee Chair Chase Cohn and Vice Chair Beckham Shell regarding the Constitution and their plans for IAC and the SGA in the future. Gentlemen, let's start. So, the Constitution is many years old now at this point. What specifically did you feel need to change about this document to reflect the new stance of SGA?
So, for me, what I discovered was towards the end of Senate, especially last year, we were just running in circles with some of the rules and stuff. And it felt like SGA and our current position on outreach and trying to really get involved with the student body and fulfill their concerns, the current rules just really weren't allowing that as much as we would have wanted. And so that was the big idea going to the Constitution. We really want to continue to put the student body first because that's what SGA's purpose is at the end of the day.
Yeah, we'd like to really update some of the newer parts of SGA, and also when it was written 20 years ago, right? Some of the things that were in there weren't technologically accurate, so some things were just updated that way.
Interesting. Now, the new document is a couple of pages shorter than the previous. So where in the previous document did you find the space to kind of pare down what was written and make the new document more concise?
Yeah, so the old document was originally 17 pages. We've got it down to 14 now. That is a whole 3 pages worth of text taken out. And some people seemed a little alarmed with that at first, but the majority of what we've done is, especially since the current Constitution was ratified in 2000, since 2000, we've created a lot more governing docs, such as guidelines for our different committees and cabinets and stuff, that are, frankly, a lot easier to edit than the full SGA Constitution. And so our thought process going into it was, if something seems arbitrary, if some rule is just weird, putting a number on it for no reason, we're just going to take it out of the Constitution and redefine it later on somewhere else. So that way that the Constitution, our most important document, remains open-ended to where we can interpret it how we need to.
Just to echo Chase, it's really become a lot more transparent, not as vague. And like Chase said, we've kind of streamlined things much toward the governing documents, Senate standing rules, chair persons, and other things. So, yeah.
Now, when this document was brought before the Senate body last week, there was a period of debate regarding whether the vice president should need to serve 2 terms in the Senate before being eligible to run for that office. What is your thought process behind including that stipulation in the new document, and why do you think it's important for the vice president to have Senate experience before running?
So the thought process behind that, and it will be debated again on the Senate floor this week, and I'm sure for weeks to come, so that's not final that is what we're doing. But the thought process behind putting that specific clause in is we've actually just last year edited some of Judicial's documents, and the Chief Justice is required to be a justice before they're required to be before they're allowed to be the Chief Justice. And we feel like that was the most similar to what the Vice President does because they are the President of the Senate at the end of the day, where some of the other exec public positions that are ran for, they don't necessarily need to have as much familiarity with SGA and our internal workings. The Vice President, their whole purpose is to work for the Student Senate and be in charge of it. And so it just felt necessary to kind of require they had some experience in it before they just were thrown into the weeds.
Now, in the wake of developments last semester, there was some discussion in SGA as to whether the threshold of students required to sign a petition before a referenda could be placed before the student body should be increased. Now, in your new document, you decided not to increase this number. Is there a reason behind that?
All right, so yeah, there was a lot of discussion about the referenda point. At the end of the day, the referenda is a check of the student body on what SGA has done. I feel, and I think most of SGA feels, it's important the student body should have say over what we do, over any decisions we make. If the student body doesn't agree with it, then we shouldn't do it. And so we originally upped the referenda amount because we wanted to make sure that enough of the students were voting, at least 10% of the students in the student body were voting, that the change would be necessary. However, what we ended up deciding is a lot of referendums don't even get 10%. They get around 5% of the student vote. And even if you're a smaller group of students, you still deserve to be heard. And so we at least want to accept referendums with a smaller threshold of students. And then we've thrown in some other clauses that might kind of help it from a small group of students overthrowing a huge SGA decision. So hopefully we're trying to find a balance.
Now, Vice Chair Shell, you received an award for your service during the summer Senate. No, I forget what the exact term was, something along the lines of most valuable senator. A lot of your work was devoted to this new constitution. What do you say are you most proud of being placed in this new document moving forward?
I'm definitely proud of... I'm definitely proud of all the changes that we made. I'm more inclined to say the changes to, I was of the opinion that we should have the change for vice president to be 2 semesters. So that's something I think was definitely needed. The amendments, we definitely had some good debates about the amendments. Not the amendments, the referenda. Sorry, referenda. We also restructured the interview committee. So that's now taken out of IAC hands, which I think what Jordan Teese presented was a very good argument to create the interview committee. So I'm definitely proud of her work on that. So those are some things that I definitely think were of value that was added to the Constitution.
Now I'll bring that same question to you, Chair Cohn. What do you find to be the most important part of this new document? What do you think elevates it over its predecessor?
While we had a bunch of changes in the Constitution and specific points, a lot of which we've touched over, I think the overarching theme of making it simpler is the thing I'm most proud of, because that is going to allow SGA to be so much more flexible in the future, which is exactly what we need to be in order to fulfill the constantly changing wants and needs of the students on campus.
Now, there's been talk in SGA as to what can be done to improve not only the organization's visibility, but also its ability to connect directly with students on campus. I'm sure that you would find that this document is one important step towards bringing that goal to reality. What other things do you see as members of the Internal Affairs Committee that could be done to advance SGA towards being a more open and democratic organization?
So, Internal Affairs Committee, unfortunately, we don't have as much say in the external, what happens with the student body at large with SGA. However, I do think that a lot of our outreach, and we've sent out a lot of student surveys recently, which, by the way, students, please respond to those. It is so helpful for SGA, and also Instagram outreach events or Instagram outreach posts, or anything we do at ACAC tabling-wise that we're trying to do a lot more of now. SGA has recently implemented a new requirement. All senators must outreach with their specific constituency. And I think all of that will just kind of help SGA reach a further democratic stance with the students.
Yeah, Jordan Teese, our lovely chief of staff, was the one that instituted these new changes to the outreach hours, which I think will definitely help our visibility on campus. Again, tabling, activities fairs, stuff like that. We were there. We were also just going to try to be involved in more things on campus. I definitely think with the rewritten Constitution and all of our new governing documents, they're definitely a bit more clear on what they mean and all of that. So hopefully that can be communicated better to the student body. And of course, we have our new Director of Communications, which I think will do a great job in his new role.
And for our final question here tonight, Chair Cohn, you already mentioned one thing, but I'll open the floor to you now. Is there anything you want to tell the students, I hear it to you, about what they can do to help SGA help itself in a way and make the organization and the university a more democratic and open and student-centered place?
I'd say just interaction with the student body and SGA. I feel like a lot of students, at least that I've talked to within my constituency and others, have said SGA feels like a bureaucracy. And that is exactly what SGA is trying to get away from right now. Every single senator is wanting to improve SGA and help it interact better with the student body. And so I just say, reach out. If you have a problem, contact your senator. If you don't know who your senator is, you can find it on the UTulsa SharePoint. And from there, just get in contact with them. They're going to want to talk to you because SGA is for the students, and we should do anything to help with that.
All right, well, thank you for coming in tonight, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to meet you. And that chair school. All right, and that's another the end.